I spent the winter and spring months shooting thousands of arrows to the Hoyt Prevail 40 with X3 cams as part of our 2017 target bow project. This bow has seen action in 3D tournaments, FIDA tournaments, and field tournaments in preparation for this final review. The Prevail is set up with Doinker Elite carbon stabilizers, Doinker Mighty Mount offset stabilizer mount, specialty archery peep, clarifier scope and lens, and bright side arrow rest. The Prevail can be found online for about $1,700. Specs include an axle-to-axle length of 40¼ inches, brace height of 7¾ inches, mass weight of 5 pounds, and ATA rated speed of 312 feet per second. Draw lengths range from 26 to 32 inches in half-inch increments with a rotating module. Set up with the new X3 cams, the Prevail might have the easiest, smoothest draw cycle I've ever felt. It just doesn't feel like a 60-pound bow during the draw. The draw ends smoothly into the valley with no noticeable dump. The valley, though, is very short. This bow will take off on you if you relax too much at full draw. However, I'm using the 65% let-off mods. I'd like to try it with the 75% mods to see if I can tame the valley a bit. Personally, I like shooting this bow with a turn or so taking out of each limb so it's not quite so jumpy. As for the back wall, it's a bit spongy with the X3 cams, but if you can get your top and bottom cams hitting their stops at the same time, it stiffens up the wall quite a bit. But if you really want a firm wall, this might not be the setup for you. In addition to its excellent draw cycle, the Prevail has my favorite grip of any of the target bows I tested this year. It just feels right in my hand, but I've always been partial to Hoyt grips. 4 different modular grips come with the bow. I personally use the standard grip, but having options is always a good thing. When it comes to tuning, I had the Prevail shooting bullet holes through paper and just a few arrows. Getting this bow tuned how I like it took very little time, and it has held its tune extremely well ever since. As far as performance is concerned, the Prevail with X3 cams was the slowest of the target bows I tested, averaging 282 feet per second with a 350 grain arrow, 60-pound draw weight, and 29-inch draw length. But this bow also has the most generous brace height by a significant margin, and that buttery smooth draw I mentioned earlier. That always equals a slight speed penalty, but well worth it for a bow you can comfortably shoot for hours on end. Hoyt takes a backseat to nobody when it comes to fit and finish. The Prevail truly stands out with an anodized silver ice riser that looks as good now as it did when it came out of the box. The Prevail 40 also puts up results. After getting the bow set up, I was able to beat a long-standing personal best FIDA 720 score the first time I marked down a scoring round. Interestingly, another bow from the 2017 Target Bow project broke that record a couple months later. However, the Prevail has also put up near records for me in known 3D. A Hoyt was the first bow I ever owned, and the Prevail felt comfortable for me right away. Outside of a slightly firmer back wall, there's really not anything I would change about this bow. It just works for me.